Welcome to the Prep Beat. It's Thomas Lawrence and TJ Holmes. Today we're reviewing Week 3 of the Northern Section Prep Football Media Poll. And Thomas, in Division 1, you finally have a clear number 1 favorite. Unanimously, Paradise is in that top spot. They've been in that top spot all year. Now it's unanimous. They're at number 1. Chico is now at number 2 because Enterprise and Foothill, both who were at 2 and 3 last week, lost. Now Shasta's at number 5. You know, Enterprise lost on the road to West Valley. Foothill lost on the road to Placer, state ranked, number 2 in D2 NorCal. What do you kind of look at these Division 1 rankings? What kind of comes to mind when you look at these?
What comes to mind first of all for me is that Chico moves up 2 spots to number 2. Enterprise and Foothill both fall. But Chico, without their starting quarterback, Trevon Reed for now, they kind of just held off last night home, and they're not necessarily a D2 contender at this point, or they haven't been to this point. Enterprise lost to now the number 1 team in Division 2 in West Valley, and they didn't play their best football throughout, but you can't say it's a bad loss when you go lose it the past year, especially this year. Foothill played a team in Placer that you never want to say you expect to lose a game or something like that, but probably a game they mark as their toughest one to win this year. So to me, Chico being ahead of Enterprise and Foothill isn't necessarily indicative of where everything's going to play out, especially come November.
Yeah, Division 1's already seen a couple different rankings with Chico, Foothill, and Enterprise all being in that jumbled mess every week in 2, 3, and 4 spots. Shasta stayed in that 5th spot. Looking at those 2 teams that lost last week in Enterprise and Foothill, which loss do you think kind of hurts the most between, for either of these teams?
I mentioned Foothill kind of marking that Placer game as not one, of course, you ever want to lose, but one that might be the toughest to do so. They had Eddie Vanderdozer playing against a blue chip lineman, a huge guy, and so I think even Brian Hamilton, their coach, can't be surprised that, they came up short in that one. It was just a tough matchup. Enterprise, however, they beat West Valley twice last year. When they mark that down, they know it's going to be a tough game, but I know that they marked down that game knowing it's one they would have on their resume as a solid win. So for me, that loss, I think, hurt Enterprise a little bit more than it might have, than Placer loss might have hurt Foothill this week.
Mm-hmm. Then you round out Division 1, you got Shasta at number 5, who's just been a mainstay right there. I don't see Shasta really kind of going above either of these other teams until league kind of comes around and things start to kind of work each other out as these teams play each other. And moving on to Division 2, we looked at, we mentioned earlier that West Valley is the top team in Division 2. They finally got that top spot over Sutter, who was idle last week. West Valley got that home win against Enterprise, the number 2 ranked team in Division 1 last week. Now they're down to number 3. That helped West Valley catapult Sutter, even though Sutter didn't play last week.
Yeah, and that was a huge win for West Valley, and it was one that we kind of talked about as one that they're gonna need that to catapult them, at least for now, over Sutter, and that's exactly what happened. So you got West Valley and Sutter as that strong 1 and 2, but after that, a lot of talent, but it's kind of a logjam in there.
Yeah, you look at the rest of Division 2, you got Wheatland at number 3 coming in from not being ranked to number 3. Then you got Wairika, who's beating a bunch of lower division teams, still undefeated at 3-0, and they're up at number 4. Then CV got their first win of the year last week at home against Orland, defending D2 champions. So, that was enough to put CV back in the rankings after they were in there a couple weeks ago. But looking at the rest of Division 2, you have 7 unbeaten teams right now. It's like you said, it's a logjam. It's kind of, who do you put in that top 5 right now? We're leaving out 3 unbeaten teams in these top 5 rankings across, all of these media outlets. And CV's kind of getting that spot. So it's really looking at who's beating who and everything else, because it's really a tight race in Division 2 this year.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that with strength of schedule and a tight race in Division 2. Right now, things are a little bit clearer in Division 3. Pierce, number 1, undefeated to this point. They move up ahead of Willows, who was the defending D3 champion, was number 1, lost to Winners this past week. Durham's at the number 2 spot. Willows has slid down consequently to number 3. Modoc holds strong at number 4. Of course, they moved up from Division 4 this year. And Trinity makes an appearance in the rankings for the first time this year. They got their first win, a big win over Hoopa Valley. And they've played a tough schedule for a D3 team this year, and that's why they're one of those 1 and 2 teams that's making it into the rankings.
Yeah, they jumped up in there, and then looking at another team, that jumped up into the rankings, Division 4's Biggs. They went from not being ranked to making their first appearance at number 4 in Division 4. But you still got Portola unanimously number 1 for a couple weeks now. Then you got Chester at number 2 coming in. Bernie moving from number 5 to number 3. They're 2-1 after the big win against UPrep last week. They won handily over that 3 scores there. Then you got, like I said, Biggs number 4. Maxwell lost their second time this season. They dropped from being second, from being second down to 5th in Division 4.
When you look down at Division 6, 8-man football, Butte Valley, defending champ, holds strong at the top. They're undefeated. Dunsmuir number 2, 3-0. Reading Christian stays strong at number 3. Just like last week, they beat Westwood on the road. Then after that, you get a couple of teams who are making their first appearance this year. Tule Lake, in their first year of 8-man football, they're 2-0 down at number 4. And Mercy from Red Bluff making his first appearance as well at number 5. They're 2-1 on the year.
Yeah, and it's only week 3, and almost a whole month of football action. There's still plenty of time to move around these rankings and get to those wins that you need.
Hard to believe we're already here.
Yeah, that's going to do it for week 3 media poll discussion, and check out prepbeat.com for more high school sports information.